Сейчас готовь ужин.
Сейчас, блядь.
Опа, ну вот нахуй.
Я снял, пацаны.
Что это было?
Russian soldiers have begun to realize they are fighting a lost cause. The war cannot be won. Their corrupt commanders are sending them to certain death, and the state is not even paying them. As a result, desertions are growing in number. Absent without leave and desertion cases in the Russian army have doubled and tripled in recent months, with battlefield desertions rising sharply, according to tens of thousands of records reviewed by Frontelligence Insight. Based on 13,800 registered absent without leave cases, journalists found that monthly case numbers have increased nearly sixfold compared with January 2024. The total absent without leave number is higher, and journalists used a list with 13,800 cases because it includes detailed categories such as service type, unit, and location. The data set spans from the start of the war in 2022 through the first week of July 2025. According to this data, the number of absent without leave cases in the first half of 2025 already matches the total for all of 2024, indicating that the pace of absent without leave and desertion has doubled. According to the categories in the document, of the 13,800 absent without leave cases, 11,300 involve contract soldiers, 2,457 are mobilized personnel, and 9 fall into other categories, such as conscripts. The document does not provide a more detailed breakdown within these categories. While large datasets often omit specific details and circumstances of desertions, documents from individual units allow for a clearer picture. For example, they can examine statistics from the 30th Separate Guards Motor Rifle Brigade of the 2nd Combined Arms Army. Between April 2023 and March 2025, 2,000 absent without leave and desertion cases were officially registered. Over 23 months, the absent without leave amounted to the equivalent of half the brigade. As with broader trends across frontline units, the surge was concentrated in 2024 and 2025. By breaking down cases by circumstances and plotting them on a timeline with a moving average, it can identify trends and circumstances of desertion. In the 30th Brigade, absent without leave cases have steadily increased since 2023, reaching a peak in 2025. Notably, the number of battlefield desertion cases has increased more than tenfold since the summer of 2024. While data beyond March 2025 is not available, broader trends across all units suggest that this surge likely continued. The document categorizes all absent without leave cases into 3 groups: those who joined by signing a contract, mobilized, and contracted via Company V, likely recruited from prison. Among the 30th Brigade, 73.6% of desertions involved soldiers who joined by signing a contract. Surprisingly, only 4.38% of mobilized fell into this category. While it might be tempting to conclude that mobilized troops are less likely to desert, it is also possible that not that many mobilized personnel have left alive in the unit by 2025. Unlike in Ukraine, where desertion cases are sometimes used as a means to transfer between units, Russia's absent without leave and desertion cases overwhelmingly reflect classic instances of absent without leave and desertion. That said, there is no evidence to suggest an imminent collapse. It is important to emphasize that the absent without leave cases listed here are not minor or temporary incidents. These are officially registered cases under legal proceedings and, according to the Russian Criminal Code, constitute criminal offenses. While Russia continues to meet recruitment quotas, the quality of its forces is declining. An increasing share of recruits comes from coerced sources, including detainees or pre-trial arrestees. This, combined with overall fatigue, is reflected in the available data. Absent without leave issues are more visible and discussed in the Ukrainian military, and the availability of Ukrainian data, combined with the near absence of comparable Russian data, has created a skewed perception, making Russian desertion appear almost non-existent. The team concludes that while these numbers are not yet critical for the Russian army, the rapidly growing trend indicates that even under extreme punitive measures, including extrajudicial executions, the army has been unable to stem desertions, pointing to a growing problem. Ukrainian drones struck a fuel pumping station in Russia's Vladimir Oblast overnight, the commander of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, Robert Madyar Brovdy, announced. The attack hit a fuel pumping station that feeds diesel into the Moscow Ring oil product pipeline, which supplies fuel to the capital and surrounding regions. Drones piloted by the 14th Regiment of the Unmanned Systems Forces struck the Vitorovo station in the settlement of Penkino, Brovdy said. The community is located about 210 kilometers east of the capital. The pumping station is operated by Transneft, a Russian state-controlled oil pipeline company based out of Moscow. Fuel in Moscow is acting up a little, they say, Brovdy mocked on Telegram. Gasoline is becoming a scarce liquid, while gas and oil fast-burning. Neither the damage caused by the attack nor the impacts of the disruption on the Russian capital were immediately clear. Ukraine has intensified long-range strikes against Russian energy facilities, targeting refineries and depots to cut into Moscow's war funding. Ukraine's military has seldom targeted oil facilities in Vladimir Oblast, prioritizing locations closer to the front line that directly supply Moscow's war efforts. The same night, Ukrainian forces struck the Ilsky oil refinery in Russia's Krasnodar Krai and the 8N oil pipeline control station near the village of Nytopovichi in Bryansk Oblast, Ukraine's general staff confirmed. In August alone, Ukraine struck at least 12 refineries, shutting down facilities representing over 17% of national processing capacity, or 1.1 million barrels per day. And the Slavyansk and Kuban oil refinery in Krasnodar region has been forced to halt operations after a reported missile strike combined with a drone attack. Local officials confirmed damage from mass UAV strikes on September 4th, while industry sources say all refinery units are shut down indefinitely. Ukrainian soldiers wished the Russian UAV operators a good morning.
Сейчас, блядь.
Опа, идиот, нахуй!
Я снял, пацаны.
Что это было?
Да во вход прямо уебало, нахуй.
Why do Russians continue to surge forward on their endless meat assaults, knowing they will die? Large doses of amphetamines and narcotics, mostly. The Russians inherited from the Soviets a complete pharmacological regime for shaping the behavior and performance of soldiers. Stimulants, cognitive enhancers, amphetamines, and very short-term and long-term physical performance enhancers are available. These are especially intended for certain types of soldiers, such as special forces and command personnel. The grunts simply get lots of amphetamines. The economic crisis in Russia is worsening. The budget deficit already amounts to 5 trillion rubles for the first 7 months of the year, or 3.4% of GDP. This figure is twice the planned value for the entire year, 1.7% of GDP. Today or tomorrow, data for August will be published, and the number will be even higher. The main reason is the decline in oil and gas revenues. For the second month in a row, revenues remain at a record minimum of about 500 billion rubles per month, while 1 trillion rubles are needed to cover planned expenditures. The problem for Russia is that they have nothing to cover this deficit. There is increasing talk about the need to lower the key interest rate to revive the economy. Proposals are being made to reduce it to 16%. However, lowering the rate never happens without consequences. It will accelerate inflation and weaken the ruble. Ruble depreciation is beneficial for Russia in the short term. A cheap ruble primarily helps the Russian economy's exporters, especially in oil and gas. Companies sell raw materials for dollars or euros at world prices and convert the proceeds into rubles domestically. The weaker the ruble, the more rubles they receive for the same amount of foreign currency, which allows them to cover expenses, salaries, taxes, contractor services that are mostly in rubles. This creates an illusion of increased budget and business income with a falling exchange rate, but at the same time makes imports more expensive, raising prices for goods and equipment. However, if the ruble's decline gets out of control, the population will become poorer, as real incomes in rubles will not keep up with inflation. Capital and currency flight will begin. The black market for exchange will intensify, and confidence in the ruble and financial system will fall. In the extreme case, this could lead to hyperinflation and a crisis, like in the 1990s, when money depreciated literally in days. This autumn will be very difficult for the central bank, which has cornered itself with strict financial policies. Although it is more accurate to say, Russia has cornered itself by starting the war in Ukraine. Economists in Russia openly state that the economy is cooling, but President Vladimir Putin did not agree with Sberbank head Hermann Gref's opinion that the Russian economy has entered a stage of technical stagnation, nor did he support the opinion of some experts about the economy overheating, believing that there is a soft landing of the economy, which will ultimately reach the desired growth rates with low inflation. Putin's detachment from reality is a consequence of the system he created. Any dictator surrounds themselves with people who only bring good news and lie in their reports. Such dictators, like Putin, always end the same way. They build a system in which seeing the real picture is impossible and the collapse comes unexpectedly for them. This autumn will bring many surprises to Putin.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.